The seconds on Be Live take a little longer than our normal seconds. So welcome everybody. So today is Wednesday, which means that we are doing Chatting with Wisdom. And so Chatting with Wisdom is where I connect with very inspirational women that allow us to be able to learn about a topic that of their own choice and how we want to be able to support each other and empower each other. And so the whole purpose of this is about being able to empower women through connecting with other women. So, so today we have Kyra Schaefer. And so Kyra is the founder of an independent publishing company called As You Wish Publishing, a business dedicated to making book publishing accessible for aspiring authors who want to publish solo books and participate in collaborative books. Kyra helps authors get their messages heard to bring hope-filled real-life stories to the world. Her passion is to debunk the myth that writing is difficult and only available for a lucky chosen few. If you want to share your story with the world and learn more about the upcoming projects, you can actually reach Kyra, and her contact information is in the description. So welcome, Kyra. So
hey,
is there anything else about yourself that you'd like to share?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm learning how to play the violin. I love my husband and my dogs, and I have a bearded dragon named Oliver. Those kinds of things. I'm a pretty laid back person, but I still love to get things done and make things happen and do really cool stuff with people. So yeah, that's me.
That's really cool. So tell me a little bit more about your publishing. So like, how did it come to be? Where did it, how did you start all this?
Well, definitely, I did not expect to have this happen as far as publishing goes. I did not know how to write a book. I knew how to write a book, but I didn't know how to publish a book or create a book. And our first book was the Happy Thoughts Playbook. And that was a memorial book for a friend of ours. And I really felt like she came to me one morning, and she had passed away from a car wreck. And I felt like she came to me after the car wreck and was like, write my book. And I was like, girl, I don't know how to write your book, you know? And she had already, like, I've got some really intuitive, amazing friends, and they were, she was kind of creeping on them too. Like, write my book. You know? And so then I was like, you know what? I really feel like I'm supposed to do this. So we got a group of friends together because I couldn't afford it to do it on my own, and I didn't know what I was doing. So we got a group of friends together who all loved Vicky, and we created this book. And it took me a year to create this book. And the following year, I did 12 books. You know, so that kind of lends to, you know, when we get through that first hurdle, we can go through hurdle. And it's so much easier once we get that first one under our belt. But I felt like, I was like, oh, once I publish this book, then our love and connection is going to be, you know, done. You know, my grieving, my loss, my pain is supposed to be done then. And she's not going to come and visit me anymore, which was completely untrue. I still get my messages from her. I still get the hummingbirds coming around, and I still have this book, which is so interesting because it is about grieving and loss, and color. And there's coloring pages. There's activity sheets. So things that I've actually been wanting to do but never have the time to do, I've been able to do those lately. So I actually put this back on the shelf because I was coloring in it. You know? So that's how it got started. And I found that people really wanted to have a place to be able to write and express, and then also be able to build their credibility. So I created the transformation series that's like holistic practitioners and healers and all that kind of stuff can, you know, have a place where they go, if somebody asks them to speak, they can say, yeah, I've been in a book, you know? And so that's kind of where I am with it, or where we started rather.
Nice. So that sounds really exciting. And I love how you talk about the inspirations, right? So our inspirations come from so many different places. And I often hear people say, as creepy as it sounds, I think my friends come to me or my
Yeah.
family, like, right? And so people are kind of like, it's kind of weird. Like, should I really be talking to other people about this? Like, but we get those inspirations from so many different places, and it's about being able to tap into that inner guidance. And so it's those little voices, like we have, like on the cartoons, where you have, like, on one side you got the little devil, and on the other side you got the little angel, right? So like these things are, these little nudges are always around to be able to get different messages out to us. So today we're actually talking about gratitude in a changing world. So like that is the topic that we're actually kind of leading into. So tell me more about that. So tell me more about what you mean by that.
So, we can all use a little dose of the goodness that comes with gratitude, because gratitude can immediately shift your state of mind, your awareness of what's going on. Because when we're so stuck in, because basically, and this is something I heard from Wayne Dyer a long time ago when I was starting my own spiritual, emotional, physical journey into betterness, right? Wholeness, he said, whatever we focus on expands. So if we're focused on either that feeling of emptiness or not enoughness or discomfort, it can feel overwhelming after a while, so much to the point, and at least for me, I don't know about everybody else, but I used to deal with paralyzing depression. So my sense of it would be where I would go to sit down to tie my shoes and I wouldn't be able to get back up. And because I would let this experience just crash in on me and completely focus on my discomfort. And it wouldn't necessarily be a bad, painful thing, like my body hurts or I've got a headache, or there's nothing I could point to go, oh, well, I have a migraine, so I'm not going to be able to do anything. It wasn't like, it made sense, logical sense. So when I learned about this gratitude practice, and I've got a few here that we can talk about, but once I learned about going into gratitude, the first thing that I would have to do to pop myself out of it, what I would name 5 things that were going right. And when I could do that, sometimes I could get to 1. If I got to 1, then I could get to 2. And if I got to 2, I could get to 3. And by the time I got to 5, I could start to move my body a little bit and start to get up. And then maybe go to the bathroom and maybe get a glass of water. Like everything was, it was a very hard experience that I had in my life that way. And I think I'm not alone in that, and that there are people who deal with depression in that way. Sometimes you just silently suffer and you still get to work and you still get home and you still, kiss the family, and then you sit down in front of the TV and then it just closes down. So whereas mine would cause me to do nothing, some people can live with it on a day-to-day basis. So gratitude has been something that helped me tremendously.
And I like one of the things that you said is that it's those little steps, right? So, and that you're not alone. And that is one of the biggest things. And so my background is addiction and mental health. And like, I'm almost 2 decades in supporting people in wellness. And so I've shifted in the last 5 years of being able to bring a holistic approach to the way that I deal with things. And how that happened was that I was in that depressed state. I was in that, like, oh my God, I cannot even put my feet on the floor. And I would tell clients all the time, just do it. Just take those steps and just do it. And here I was, like, unable to put my feet on the floor to get up out of bed in the morning. And like you said, like that was, and gratitude was how I got pulled out. So
Wow.
how I pulled myself out was using gratitude. And so I was in bed and unable to get out of bed. And so then I started off with, okay, because I know what it is that I need to do because I've been teaching it and working with clients for so many years on it. And so I already knew what I needed to do, but I needed to. And so then I started off with, on Facebook, I made a commitment to day 1 what am I grateful for? One thing that I'm grateful for that I'm making public. Day 2, and then I continued on and on and on, and I don't remember how many days that I actually got to, and I got a message from a family member that said, so how many more days are you doing this for? And I said, however many more days that I need to be able to do so that I can actually feel like myself again. And it took a lot of work. It took a lot of ways of being able to get out. And so we're not alone. And that is something, so I really like that point that you made, is that we're not alone. Mm-hmm. And so what are some of the things that have helped you with being able to get yourself out of that state?
So the first one, and this is something that my husband actually does, and it's amazing. And it might be from Abraham Hicks, and it is a list of positive aspects. So it is where, so when you feel good and something is right and it's all going right, you make a list, put it in your phone. Oh, that was a good thing. This was a good thing. This was a good thing. So that when you get bogged down, you can take your phone out and look at your list. And it can also be activities that you really enjoy as well. Like I want to go on a bike ride, or I want to take a walk, or whatever it might be. And then you have your list so that you don't feel like nothing's right, everything's wrong. I might as well go eat worms. You already have your list. You already know what makes you feel good, and keep trying them until one hits, because something will hit and you'll go, that's it. Yeah. So that's one of them for sure.
And I like how you said as well, is like, keep trying until one hits, because sometimes that one isn't enough. That one isn't. So like, I really like how you've actually pointed that out. So, so welcome Lori, Zian, who are actually watching. I'm not sure who else is watching. I do know that we have some more eyeballs, but Lori asks, do you sell your book? So I'm assuming that she's talking about your book that you were just talking about. I'm assuming that's
yes. I have it on sale on Amazon for $7.77, which is actually a thing with me and Vicky, because she came to me at 7 a.m., November 7th, 2017. Right. And so it's kind of a thing, but so it's $7.77, and it's actually it's pretty big. It's a pretty big guy.
Actually, it didn't look like it was that big when it was on the shelf.
Yeah. So there's exercises and coloring pages and all kinds of fun stuff. Poems. I actually had kids get into this book as well, because I think kids are the most happy and loving and playful, and they're just little joy monsters. So we have a 4-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 13-year-old, all wrote for us in the book as well. So it is a really fun book. Yeah. And we got it super cheap. It's usually like $18, but I was like, I think people need a coloring book right now.
So it's called Happy Thoughts
Playbook.
Happy Thoughts Playbook, Lori, because Lori's asking for the title. So what we will do is we'll actually go in and put the Amazon link for you too, Lori, so that way there it's easy. And for anybody else who's catching the replay, because I know that I prefer it easy sometimes. So we'll put the link in. So I would love to journal with my daughter. Oh, that would be beautiful.
Awesome. Very good. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Oh, and Lori too. We've got something out right now. It's a Hope Quotes book that we're going to be putting together. It's got activity sheets and coloring pages. And if you want you and your daughter to actually be in a book, you can offer up your quotes. It's very easy. asyouwishpublishing.com/hope. And it's totally free. And we are going to be putting the book together. And any profits from that, we're going to actually be sending to Hearts Helping Humanity, which is an organization that's helping connect people who need things with people who have things to give. So yeah. So, and you don't have to be a writer. You can just put out, hey, what are you saying to your kids right now? What are you saying to your loved ones? What are you saying to yourself that's helping you get through the day? And then we'll edit it, put it together, and good to go.
Okay, so what I did was I actually put it in the comments so that people actually have it already, because while you were chatting, that's one of the things that I did. So because it's really cool. So, and I really like that idea, and being able to do like a mother-daughter or a mother-son.
We have whole families, and
right.
I'm putting the whole families on their own page so that when they get their book, because the book is going to be probably like, this is so funny because this is the nudge. We were talking about nudges and inspiration. This is Alicia Shaviri, we published her book last year. But it's going to be about like, the size and that kind of thing. And so just so you know what's going to kind of look like and the quality, it's going to, it's really good quality books too. So, yeah.
I can definitely speak to that in terms of them being good quality books. I am a co-author in 2 of the books that Kyra has published, and working on the 3rd. So I'm going to have my, so I'm going to be in the 3rd book as well.
So this
so yeah, I mean, inspirations. That was my very first.
I know, and you're, I think, number 1 right there. Right.
So when I first got published in that book, I'm like, oh my God, I got to be number 1 in the book. I'm so excited. And then when the 2nd book came out and I was number 1 again, I'm like, oh, they go by alphabet. But I didn't do that the first time. So I was just really excited that I was first.
So exciting. It's so exciting.
So yes, so it's definitely. So tell me a little bit more about some of the other things that you do.
Sure. So let's see. Okay, so this can be added to the list of positive aspects. Write down all of the movies and shows and music that you love and keep that on a list so that hey, if I'm bored or whatever, I can go and check out this movie. That's another thing that Todd does. And Todd is my husband, by the way, and the COO of As US Publishing. I love this one because this engages a lot of people as well. So go out to Facebook.
That's okay. You're on just solo. You're just good.
I was like, what happened? Go out to Facebook, or you can, ask your 10 friends or create a text thread or whatever it is that you feel the most comfortable with, or even an email, and just ask them, what do you love about me? And I know sometimes this freaks people out a little bit, or they feel like, oh, I can't ask that. Ask it anyway. Do it anyway. Try it. See what happens. What I've seen happen with people is that they are so overwhelmed with this sense of love and connection because they can see that people really see them and love them. And so sometimes that we need that, some unconditional loving connection. And so when you do that, also send them back the thing that you love about them. And when you do that, I think that just changes so much in the brain and psychology. Something else? I got more. Okay.
That's why it's nice and big.
Oh, okay. Thank you. All right. So the next one would be simplicity. So when we are in a place where we're like, I can't find the thing that I'm not a millionaire. I don't have the fanciest car. We can get into what we don't have. And so when we shift that and we get into what we do have, then all types of beautiful bells and whistles go off in our brain. So we look at what is simple. I breathe in and out every day. I have a roof over my head. Water is coming out of my faucet. Now, the trick is when you say water's coming out of my faucet for now, so we want to make sure that our brain doesn't try to get in on the action, our ego. So we say, okay, well, and if that happens, we go, all right, hold on, sit down. You've got your time and your chance later to do it. Give your ego a vacation, right? And just instead say, go on a vacation, go somewhere tropical, like get out of here. And just go, okay, well, what is going right? And you can make that list as well. Instead of it could be the 5 things that you're grateful for, but getting even to the basics. I have clothes on my back. I have glasses I can wear so I can see. I have pets who love me unconditionally, that kind of thing. And then finally,
I'll just let you keep going until
I just run out of steam. And by the way,
you've done the 10 things, and then I'll come back and join you.
Okay. And also, by the way, in case people don't know, before I was a publisher, I was a clinical hypnotherapist. So we had a practice. So this isn't like coming from out of nowhere. This is stuff I've actually worked with clients for a long time. So anyway, the last one I think I want to say, because I think I've got everything else. Let me just double check here. Oh, okay. Two more. So the first one is making a gratitude jar. So you can write down all the things that you're grateful for, from the minuscule all the way to the, just unbelievable success that you've had in your experience, or the unbelievable thing that has come to you that has changed your life forever. And put those all in a jar. And then whenever you feel a little like you can't generate this good feeling on your own, pick a few of them out of the jar. You might have to pick all of them out of the jar and put them all back in, and then pick them out again. And that's okay, because we're retraining the brain to see that goodness. Because once it does, and the light is shined on the goodness, or the light is shown on the goodness, then the light will continue to shine there. But if we continue to just look at what isn't, then we'll continue to see what isn't. So that's one that I think is really helpful. And then finally, getting into a mindset of service. Asking yourself, how may I serve? How may I serve? Marianne Williamson said this, and she said, if the universe is like a giant tape recorder, and it's just recording the things that are going on in our awareness, and we're constantly asking the universe to give us something, then the universe plays it back and says, give me something, or lack. But if instead you say, how may I serve? That recording back says, how may I serve? And the universe is saying, how may I give back to you? And it's not a gimmick. It's not a brain thing. It's not a whatever. It's a deeply spiritual, moving thing. When I woke up with the Hope Quote idea book, it came from I had a dream. The dream was my grandfather was gasping for air and grabbing a hold of me and trying to tell me something. And all of a sudden, I just felt this overwhelming feeling like I need to make authorship available for everyone. And so when I woke up, it wasn't from a place of what can I get or whatever. It was from a place of how can I give? How can I serve? What can I do? And as long as we stay in that mindset of what can we give, we're always going to be in a position of allowing good things to come in for us. So that's that.
And it's always like, you always hear everybody talk about like karma, right? So like they talk about karma as being like this negative thing. And I guess part of it could be, but like the definition really truly of karma is where it's that give and take with the universe, right? So like what we give out, we get back. And so, and that's really the true definition of karma. And so that is a beautiful way of being able to end with your 10 things that you actually have. And I guess I should have warned you ahead of time that I was like making you solo, so that it didn't kind of throw you off balance. But I don't always put people on solo, but it was just so important for people to be able to hear what it is that you're saying. Hello, Suzanne. So actually 2 Suzannes. So we've got Suzanne Harmony, who is also one of and we've got Suzanne Moganai Smith. And Lori says, and I want to go back to Lori's comment, because you had said like you and your daughter can can actually comment or do this book thing. And Lori's comment is, I asked my daughter and she's giggling.
Oh, I just love that. My favorite thing is contributing. It's one of my favorite things, seriously. Yeah. It's so cool.
And Shauna Fisher has actually put a heart. So welcome, ladies. I'm really excited that you guys are here too. And so, but it is just so important for us to be able to, and that's one of the reasons why we have, or that why we, and I always say we, I always put everybody in the same bracket as me, because I never work alone. I'm not by myself. Right. And so Chatting with Wisdom really is about that. Being able to inspire each other, and how can we help each other? How can we give each other some feedback? And so the topics are very much about whatever it is that people feel that will actually inspire other people, and how we act. And I have people that'll say, well, how do I know what is going to be inspiring to somebody else? What inspired you? Right? So what inspired you to take you to being able to find those lists of gratitude, to find these other ways of being able to pull yourself out of your own depression? And there's obviously, like, it's not a magic wand. And so I don't want anybody who's coming on to say, oh, okay, well, if I just do these things, it's just going to magically get better and I'm not going to be depressed anymore. That's not the case. We have to work at it every single day. And one of the things that you said at the beginning was the information I think you said was from Abraham Hicks, where they actually talk about the expansion, right? So whatever it is that you bring in is what's going to be able to expand. And so when we bring in that gratitude, when we bring in that loving kindness, and that loving kindness needs to also, we need to start with it with ourselves. Yeah. Right. So how are we going to, because one of the things that you said is, as well, is how can I serve? That how can I serve also needs to be inward as well. Yeah. So sometimes it's very easy for us to extend everything outward, but when we start giving to ourselves and loving ourselves, then it's so much easier, and it just comes so much more natural to be able to give to others as well. And so that gratitude, so like that list of gratitude isn't to be able to help the neighbor. That list of gratitude is to be able to help you feel better. And when you're feeling better, then you're able to help. And that kind of projects outside of our own space. Yeah, and absolutely. So like if Todd's in a bad mood, for example, just because you were talking about Todd, never. So like if he's in a bad mood, never, then you're lucky. But so using Todd as an example though, so if he's in a bad mood and he stays stuck in that bad mood, if it's easy for us to be able to latch on to that mood. But when we can actually put out the gratitude and the things that we're grateful for and the things that we're really happy for, then it helps to shift his mood. Absolutely. Right. So yeah. And that goes with everybody that is around. And so whether it's our children, whether it is our neighbors, whether it is our parent, it doesn't matter who it is. If we can shift our own energy, and our own mindset, then it shifts the energy around us, and then it permeates through the other people. So even like the crabbiest person, if you walk down the street and you smile at them, they smile back. Like I have yet to have anybody not smile at me, unless they didn't like me, then they glared at me, but that's just not how bigger, right? So but it's just important for us to it's just really important for us to be able to expend that outward. And so I would like to add a little caveat here. Abraham Hicks also talks about the emotional scale, and powerless and depression is at the bottom. But if you move up the scale, you notice that anger and revenge are actually higher up than powerlessness. And what I think is so interesting about that is that, and you almost have to get to revenge and anger before you can kind of reach what really the sad, or what's really bothering you. And so don't feel like, well, I'm just putting a pretty gold sticker on this whole thing, by saying I'm grateful for this and I'm going to have this positive affirmation. Sometimes we can only get from point A to point B by taking micro steps. So if you feel bad, if you feel sad,
don't feel like you have to try to push through it, because that's actually not going to get you anywhere. That's going to cause repression, and then it'll creep out later, while you're standing in line at the grocery store and all of a sudden you just start yelling at someone for no reason, or, have road rage. So we want to address the feeling of discomfort, the feeling of pain, the feeling of sadness, the feeling of anger. Like, those are not bad emotions. And I think we get stuck in that in our head a little bit. It's like, as soon as someone, when I saw clients, as soon as someone would start crying, I would be like, oh, thank God, here we are, or if they got mad, or even if they got mad at me, I'm like, yeah, give it to me, because then we could actually move through the steps more easily. So, own that, own your emotion, whatever it is, and then, see where you are, and then bring in some pieces of the elements that we've been talking about today. Because I think to deny how we really feel is not really helping it. It's going to be a Band-Aid. It's going to be symptom relief, but it's not going to be a long-term care. And for me, with the depression that I worked through, I had to let all those tears out. I had to have those primal screams. I had to have all those moments that I was doing my ugly cry, and I needed it. And once I had it, and I had loving, supportive, kind helpmates along the way, my coaches, my psychologists, my people, everyone that I needed to have around me transformed me. And so don't feel like we're putting a gold sticker on anything. If there happens to be anybody out there going, well, that's fine for you guys, but I'm really in pain. Yeah, you probably are. And let's acknowledge it and love you through it.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that's really, and those are some of the things that I've shared with clients over the years as well, is those, is that anger is actually a motivational emotion. So people are like, oh my God, I'm feeling angry. And it's like, good, what are you going to do about it? Right. So like, it's that motivational, that motivational emotion, but people have put labels on these good and bad emotions. And so, and again, sometimes when we're actually and I like the way that you actually talked about the levels of emotion, because I didn't actually hear that. Like, I've never learned that with Abraham Hicks, but like, it actually, where she actually talks about that, and it's like really interesting to know that that she's able to do that, because those are some of the things that we talked about. It's like, it's not a good emotion and it's not a bad emotion, but sometimes that's the label that we sometimes put on, because it just makes it so that it's easier, because a lot of times our brain works on that black and white, and life isn't black and white. Our emotions are not black and white. And so like, you have somebody who's like so angry they're crying. Like, why are they crying? They're angry, or they're so happy they're crying.
Yeah.
Right. So like,
so good.
Two,
and I right? The whole range. I have got the whole gamut, girl. Whole gamut. I'm like, oh, no.
Well, and one of the things that was really interesting is that my niece actually posted a video the other day of like, yes, I get it, honey. And it's like, there's just a whole lot of emotions. So like, she's just learning her emotions, and she's just learning to be able to do, she's just I don't remember how old she is now. I think around 9 months, maybe a little older. But anyway, she's so she's got these different things that are going on. And so my niece actually has a video of her going through these wide ranges. She's laughing, and then she's crying, and then she's frustrated because she's like trying to play and it's not going exactly the way that it needs to. It might be getting close to nap time, and or she might be getting hungry, like who knows, right? So she's got like all these different emotions. And I love the fact that my niece actually shared that with us, because it allows us to be able to know, and all of us can actually relate to this infant who's like, oh, I'm so happy, no, I'm so sad, oh my God, I'm so frustrated. And I'm like, so we go through these ranges of emotions all day long, but having tools in our toolbox, like the ones that you've suggested, allows us to be able to take those next steps and take that next level up to what it is that we want to be able to learn or do or to connect with. And so, so thank you for that, because not everybody looks at it from that same perspective, right? So I have different people who over the years that I've had people say, oh, you know, that Kyra, she's always so happy and she's always like, everything's always so grand in her world. And I'm like, and like her life is so perfect. And it's like, have you really talked to her? Because I'm pretty sure that life isn't perfect and that her entire life isn't that way. But you've got the people who are able to outwardly show that they're doing okay, even when they're not.
Well,
Right?
absolutely. But the thing is that for us, we have our business is all online. So any opinion I have, and I can be vulnerable, and I do allow myself to be vulnerable, but we do have our own opinions, and we'd be happy to share them with you if you connect with us privately. But we don't take our pain or our fear or our self-doubt or any of that to a world that could lose their confidence in themselves as a result, or they could find a sense of hopelessness or helplessness because I'm feeling hopeless and helpless. Mm-hmm. What we do is we go to people who can love us, who can be there 100% for us, so that we don't, it's interesting. I was watching Band of Brothers the other day, and one of the things that one of the commanders says to another guy who's kind of come into the platoon, and he's in a leadership role, and he comes into the platoon and he says, they're gambling one night, and the one above him, like let's say the commander above him, to the new leader, he said, never put yourself in a position where you take from these men. Take money, take anything. Don't put yourself in a position. And I think that from a leadership standpoint, when we look at something like that, I can't put myself in a position where I am making someone else, especially our authors, responsible for my happiness. And because that's just not fair to them. So, there are authors that we have who I could definitely say have been coaches of mine, but I definitely do not bring that out to the social media world because I don't want to make anybody in that world responsible. However, as you know, there have been times, like I was talking about having the dream about my grandfather. So know that I do have emotions while I am out there. And no, every day is not hunky-dory, perfect world.
And that's just so important for us to be able to know, right? So, and I used you specifically as that example just because we're here and we are talking with you. But it's just, and those are the things that are really difficult sometimes for some people who think that, oh, well, these people are so much better than me and they have right? So we need to, we always have those emotions. So yes, we actually have to put things out there. And so, and I, like you said, I also get into that emotional state. Sometimes I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm teary-eyeing right now. And it's but of course I'm teary-eyeing because I'm human.
Yes.
And I'm supposed to have these emotions. Yes. And so these different things, but at the same time, and those are some of the things that I hear from different clients all the time is oh, you're so strong and you're so inspirational. Yeah, well, you didn't see me 2 days ago when I couldn't even put my socks on, right? So it all kind of depends.
That whole cake by myself in the dark with the dog crying my eyes out. You didn't see that part. Right. Yeah, for sure. And I love, and one of the things about the Hope Quote book that I really am very committed to, I don't want anybody else's quotes. I don't want the memes. I don't want the stuff. I want everyday folks in this book. And so, because I'm there are people out there super amazing world-renowned writers that are putting out some beautiful quotes right now. And I'm just yeah, but how do you really feel? What's really going on? Because this is just making me feel worse about me. I am not to that exalted state of ascended masterdom, right? I am at the human level, eating my cake with my dog crying in the dark.
And like that is just so important. And that's one of the things that I find with any of the books that I've read that you have published. So obviously this information comes from the authors, but in terms of all the books, and so obviously these are the people that you attract, but like they have those, it's very much raw. It's very much what was part of their reality. And so good and bad, right? So like, it's like not just all bad stuff and all not good things. It's like, it's that shared, and it's really that shared living experience that you can actually read and relate to what's going on. So like I haven't, and I'm looking forward to getting your book that you were just talking about, because like I think that it's and just from knowing some of the authors that you that I've been connected with and the books that I've read, is that it gives that that good and that bad while we were actually working through the different emotions. And so I love your Hope Quote book, and I really hope to be able to see Lori and her daughter be able to join and be part of that, those authors, because I know Lori and I know her daughter, and like it would be really so cool to be able to have this mother-daughter experience. Lori was a teacher of my son, who's now an adult, but he was he was definitely a challenge. And so, so Lori was one of so I was very fortunate to be able to work with Lori as a teacher, and so that connection between her and her daughter, like that, is just. I'd love to be able to read that quote. I'd love to be able to read whatever it is that they are actually able to share. Yeah. So I really hope that you do that, and that anybody else who's watching, put those messages out there. So I know that Zian is watching right now, or at least she was. And she is extremely inspirational, and the things that she says are very, there's lots of hope and there's lots of connection. So I'm hoping she's going to be one of the authors, like the co-authors. Like there's just so many different people that we connect with on a day-to-day basis that say things that really inspire others. And so I am grateful to be connected with you. I am grateful to be connected with them. And I'm really looking forward to see who all some of these authors are going to be. And so I actually pinned the link to the top of this video. So if you're catching the replay, it's actually going to be right at the top of the video. And I'm also going to go back in, and just in case something happens that you can't find that pinned post, is that I'm actually going to go in and put it in the comments. And so that, or like in the description, so that whether you guys can find that link specifically, you could find it through her website because it's already on there, but specifically that Hope Quote book. So I'm really strongly encouraging all of you guys to join in and make it so that it is, it's incredible. Like it will be incredible anyway, but for those of you who are watching, that little piece of you, it would be awesome to be able to read that little piece of you. So, hey, Lillian. So is there anything else that you wanted to add or that you wanted to share? Is there?
I think the main thing is to take your time. Do the thing that resonates with you the most right now or in that moment. I actually went out on Facebook and I wrote down, I think, 7 things that I was grateful for. And the reason why I did that was, one, because when I write, it really gets into my mind, but also to walk my talk, so I wasn't necessarily feeling very good that day. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to go out and I'm just going to post something that's all the things I'm grateful for. And then that caused other people to post some things that they were grateful for. And then, and then get a different mind. So sometimes when we do something for ourselves and then we also put it out there a little bit, it can make a big difference. But go slow, take your time. If you need to get mad, sad, upset, or whatever first, that's okay. And if you want to then just take it to the next level and say, okay, well, how can I feel a little bit better? And then do whatever. One of my coaches says you have to become a mad scientist when it comes to your own happiness and filling your own love bucket. So become a mad scientist. These are just some ideas, but you have the faculties to be able to do whatever it is that feels the best to you. So you are not stuck to my way.
Yeah, and that's really important as well. So take what you need and leave the rest, right? So Zian says, wonderful talk. Thanks for sharing. And I'm really excited, and I'm very thankful and grateful. So my gratitude tonight. So I've been doing gratitude statements because things were like really challenging, and so like I've been doing like on different days of gratitude, and so that's what I've been posting on Facebook every day is what is it that I'm grateful for. And so tonight my gratitude will definitely share in this conversation. So this conversation definitely is something that I'm grateful for. And so this is, and for us to be able to continue to listen to this from days to come. So, and years to come. So thank you so much, Kyra, for being here. And thank you for those of you who've shared with us today. And if you're catching the replay, definitely continue to share. So Kyra will be able to come on that conversation as well. And we've shared it into, I know I've shared it into a couple of groups. Kyra shared it into a couple of groups so we can have conversations within those groups as well. So so thanks, guys. And thank you.
Thank you so much. This was so neat. I needed to do this myself too. So this is really a lovely thing I think that you're doing, and giving back in this way and bringing people together and bringing us all together. Thank you so much for that.
Well, thank you. And so I will catch everyone else next week. So we will be back at 10 o'clock. Kyra's in a different time zone than we are. And she apparently didn't want to come in her PJs. I don't know what's that all about. So, but we will be back at 10 a.m. Eastern. And we are actually going to have another one of, it's just really interesting how this kind of came into play, because it's actually going to be one of Kyra's authors that is actually going to be coming on. So Maggie Morris is actually going to be on for next week. So, do you have her book?
Yeah.
There it is. So The Journey to the Soul. So I have to still go ahead and put a, what is that called when you talk about somebody's book? On Amazon. What's that?
Amazon link? Amazon link?
No, not the Amazon link, but like when you actually talk about somebody's book. Like, what is that called? Your review. I have to go ahead and put my review in for Maggie. I haven't done that yet because I've read her book. And so really looking forward to being able to connect with her next week. And in her book, she actually shares about the women's conference that she came to speak at. And it was our women's conference. So for those of you who we're at the conference, Maggie is actually going to be on our chat for next week. So really excited about that. And so thank you very much. And thank you for all the aspiring authors who are going to share in this new book that Kyra is sharing, and looking forward to being able to read it. So, so thank you again, and bye for now, guys, and have a great week.